What's up guys, Sloth here, and today we're talking a little bit about Khepri and his current state of balance. So I'll do this real quick, and I'll just point out by numbers what I think about this god. Look at the numbers you have here, the damage numbers, starting from 80 going up to 320 with 40% scaling, and here we have damage starting from 120 because it's 10 ticks, going up to 240 with 100% scaling. Compare this to the strongest solo lane guardian that can also be played in duo lane. That's Sobek. Sobek has a 230 damage with 50% scaling and 260 damage with 40% scaling. What does this mean? Sobek has a lot lower scalings than Khepri, and a lot lower damage than Khepri, because Khepri, on top of this damage, also gets a third ability that hits all targets with a fairly low damage, but it's still AoE, still with scaling. So basically, he has 3 damaging abilities. 2 of them are most likely hitting the full wave, whereas the one can sometimes not hit the full wave, depending on how the minions stand. And you can hit 3 targets with Solar Flare on top of that. With the blue buff we have at the moment, mana is no issue for him. That's all I need to say, right? No, it's not. But what does this mean? This means that Khepri is by far the best solo laning guardian at the moment, outside of the ones that can't support. Like, leave Hades and Cabrakan out of the picture. He's getting defense on top of that comes back over time. He gives extra defense to the minions with the damage reduction. If you use it properly, you can give extra protection to the frontlining melee minions and still deal damage to the enemies. And he can basically not die with his ult, because it gives him so much extra power that you can either not kill him because he will revive, or if you choose to wait, he'll still deal a lot of damage to you, and also has the chance to get away with his movement speed buff. And CC immunity, slow immunity, everything. This basically sums up all that is to say about him. This is problematic. He is capable of doing so many things at once, especially his 2 is scary because of the scaling, the ticks, the fact that it insta-procs Spear of the Magus basically with the 2 ticks out of 10. And additional high damage on top with Abduct, and then you throw out the Solar Flare just to finish him off. He can 1v1 most guards late game, not all guards but most guards, as long as he has his ult up. If you just build Spear of the Magus into a tank kit, yeah. I wouldn't say he's over the top broken simply because he's a guardian, but this guy needs to be toned down seriously. He doesn't have the great CC that other guardians have, but he doesn't really need it. Consider this. If you go for Abduct on a target, how wrong can you go? You can either abduct the tank, and then the enemy tank can't do anything himself. So he can't ult, he can't CC the whole team because he's in your lockdown. Well, it's taken out of the fight. You can abduct a squishy, which will be taken down right away, much easier than most other taunts. The only thing you could do wrong is abduct a bruiser, because then the tank's still up and the squishies with the high damage are still up, but it's not so often that you really fail that hard, I guess. You still get extra protection for your team, you still have the extra safety for your team, you still have a root. There you go. Khepri is not balanced yet. And whoever wants to tell you that hasn't played him very much, has not seen his true potential. What I think needs to be toned down is the damage on his 1. I don't see why the flat damage has to be that high. I seriously don't. He's a guardian. He doesn't need that, because especially as long as it's able to clear waves as well. If he would get stuck on the first minion, then maybe, but 320 damage on a full wave is extremely strong. Factor in how long the pull is as well. It's 2 minutes, 2.3 minutes. We have the strongest CC with Ymir's Frost Breath. as far as I know. It should be. This is a shorter CC. It's a multi-target, so it's better in that regard. But it's a shorter CC. I might be wrong here, but as far as I know, Athena Taunt is shorter. Gap Stun. How long is Gap Stun? Gap Stun is shorter. Kumbhakana Mess. Let's see. Kumbhakana Mess is shorter. Kumbhakana Ult might be longer. Yeah. No, it's also shorter. Surprise. I think nearly every ability in the game has a shorter CC than his Abduct. So don't tell me this is weak just because it's single target. Because single target can often be enough. Then here, you have the Ticks, which proc speed of the Magus. You have 100% scaling. You have a protection debuff. And you have damage reduction. And this ability is freaking wide. And it also goes a freaking long way, so it can hit a full wave and your own minions. This 3 is fine. I seriously don't think you need to change anything about this because it has a higher skill cap with a charge up time and whatever. Still a long route though. Like the combined CC time minus diminishing returns, that's 4 seconds still in his kit. And then his ult with everything you need. Like slow immunity, movement speed, power, health, 5 seconds duration, not scaling. Boom. I don't, and the passive, is a percentage shield which goes up with health. I've played this guy a little bit now and I just don't see why he needs all of that. He would be fine if you take away a fair bit of it, and he would not fall off. He's still a strong support, and I was initially wrong about him not being able to CC well enough in team fights. He's also so big that he can block off everything so easily. Like body blocking is the easiest thing in the world when you're playing Khepri. He's as wide as Cabrakan, but like side to side, this is another Cabrakan. He's 2 Cabrakans in his current shape. I'd leave that. I like that. But you could tone on the passive, it wouldn't hurt him. You could tone on the damage on his 1, it wouldn't hurt him. You could tone down the duration of the pull, it wouldn't hurt him. You could tone down the protection debuff and damage reduction on his 2, it wouldn't hurt him. You could turn on the power scaling on his 2 and it wouldn't hurt him. You could tone on the root on his 3 and it maybe would hurt him a little bit, but definitely not much. You could tone on the duration on his ultimate on lower ranks and it would not hurt him. You could tone on the buffs he gives when ulting you and it would not hurt him. Like take away some of the immunity, take away the movement speed buff, take away the power. Like I love this guy and I love the fact that he can do all this, but in the scenarios that we will see with him and at the point that people are able to unleash his full potential, he's gonna be scary as hell. His grab is not very hard to hit because it has a wide range. His 2 is very easy to hit if the enemy gets like cocky by the slightest bit and walks up a little bit. His 3 is harder to hit, but that's about it. His ult needs some timing, but that's about it. Those are things that just need practice, that you need muscle memory. But once they are down, he's gonna be so scary. And I think I don't really want to see that. I don't want to see him like wreck every other Guardian and be insta-ban every game, because otherwise you can do wombo combos with his ultimate. You can even make stuff like Anubis viable with him, because he can just abduct the target into the ult, and then when Anubis is about to die with his low mobility, you just ult him, dash out, or whatever, root the enemies, walk away, and Anubis gets out safely as well. You can do completely new lineups in ranked with him, and that's great, but it's only gonna happen if he's not banned all the time, because he's actually in a state where you can fight him and where you don't insta-lock him all the time. That's my opinion. I'm more opinionated about this god than I am about most others, simply because he's so strong and people don't seem to recognize it yet. Thank you for watching. Feel free to leave your comments below and tell me what you think about him. Until then, Duke Sloth out.